Just when you thought it was all over, they always come back for more. Nothing truly stays dead forever. The witching hour is upon us, and time is running out. It's a race against the clock and against the undead. This is the Venom month of horrors for Corona Fever.
Theodore Robert Cowell was born on November the 24th, 1946 in Burlington, Vermont to mother Eleanor Louise Cowell, though she always went by her middle name, while her son would forever be known as Ted.
Hello and welcome to Cinematic Venom, and today is a special double feature episode. So, over on the Seeking Answers channel, this detailed documentary on the life and crimes of Ted Bundy also went public. So, remember to go and check out that video straight after this, or even before this, so a lot more things in this review will make more sense. I mean, who doesn't just love binge watching loads of documentaries about serial killers? What, just me? Ted Bundy is one of the most notorious serial killers in American history, with a death count that, to this day, still remains uncertain. Theodore Bundy is a name that still gets discussed and is still the subject of many feature films, documentaries, and even books years after his life came to an end. It's unclear when exactly he started his killing spree, but Bundy was a well-respected honor student, studying law in the University of Utah, and even falling in love with a woman called Elizabeth Kendall. However, he was never faithful to Elizabeth, cheating on her constantly, and going on to marry a completely different woman named Carol Ann Boone, even impregnating her during his trials. Ted denied being guilty of these crimes and professed his innocence for over a decade. He only confessed to murder just days before his execution on January the 24th, 1989. Bundy's ex-girlfriend Elizabeth bravely spoke out about the troubled relationship, writing her own book, detailing what it was like to date a serial killer. She would describe his verbal abuse and stealing habits, but she would also go on to explain how he would use his charm and good looks to manipulate her into staying with him. In the book, she would change people's names, including her own, going by the alias of Elizabeth Kendall. But after it came out, she vanished from the public eye and wasn't heard from for decades. And that's where we come into it today.
You have to stop this.
Director Joe Berlinger actually met with Elizabeth Kendall in preparation for the movie, looking at old photographs of her with the real Ted, though she always insisted that she would not watch the final film. The movie was heavily criticised for supposedly sympathising with the murderer and showing him in a positive light. The casting of Zac Efron, a pretty boy, also caused backlash for the same reason. So much so, Efron initially turned the role down. He didn't want them to glorify a murderer, so much so it was even banned in some territories. Some slated the film for not focusing on the impact that his murders caused, but rather making Bundy look good, though most praised Efron's performance and accurate portrayal of his real-life counterpart. So, extremely wicked, shockingly evil and vile. That is an awful title. I mean, basically, these were the last words that the judge said to him when he was handed his sentence.
The court finds that both of these killings were indeed heinous, atrocious, and cruel, in that they were extremely wicked, shockingly evil, vile, and the product of a design to inflict a high degree of pain and utter indifference.
But so what? Why does that mean you have to name your movie that? It's not a very catchy title. And let's be honest, who's going to say, hey dude, did you watch Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile the other day? No! Everyone's going to say, hey, did you watch the Ted Bundy movie with Zac Efron? Wait, few have the imagination for reality? What? That's the quote you go for with a serial killer movie? A quote about...
imagination.
This is Ted Bundy, not SpongeBob!
Gabriella!
Right off the bat, the movie shows the climax of Bundy already arrested and talking to Elizabeth. Before we hit flashback mode! Yeah, we've seen this before. But the movie starts with such a big exposition dump. Literally as soon as it starts. Oh yeah, she's a single mother of one with a history of dating losers. Next! But hey, his famous Volkswagen Bug makes its first appearance. That's pretty cool. Wait, is it bad that all I'm wondering is, who the hell sleeps? Or even on top of the covers? The thing is, I can't even complain that this beautiful, friendly woman took a strange man home and immediately introduces him to her daughter the very first day and lets him spend the night. Because that's exactly how it happened in real life. I'm not here to judge. We all make mistakes, Liz.
Of course.
The thing is, I did always find it strange that Bundy never killed her. I mean, in her book, she explains that he tried at least twice, but it's odd that he didn't do it immediately like all of his other victims. Liz, he actually seemed somewhat vulnerable towards, which does sadly make an interesting story. Oh, and for those people complaining that this movie glorifies Ted Bundy by making him charming, but he was charming! So what are you insulting the movie for? What, for being accurate? Bundy was intelligent, good-looking, and charming. It's exactly how he was able to manipulate so many women to fall for his games, and it sadly cost them their lives. I have my own issues with this movie. I mean, it's not that great, but the character of Bundy isn't the problem. That's actually the part that's completely spot on. But not only do they not pork, but Liz wakes up the next day to find no Ted and panics to check on her daughter, but it turns out that he just didn't want to wake her, so he made them both breakfast. Aww, so sweet. He had sex with corpses. We then get some news footage, which I believe is the real-life clips, and if it's not, I look like an idiot, but it won't be the first time. This is a really cool touch, people reporting on Bundy and the disappearances of all the women. Here's one problem I have, though. The movie doesn't actually show Bundy's murders. It's technically based on Elizabeth's book. In the movie, she is called Elizabeth Kendall, and not Klepfer. The film is told from her point of view, which makes sense. Except right here. I mean, we're watching Bundy's first arrest. Well, where's Elizabeth? Well, I mean, she wasn't there, so... How is this from her point of view? Oh, so this is another movie that's claiming it's something that it's not. Excellent. Then we see Elizabeth turning to alcohol, and this was a big part of her book. It consumed her entire life, and it was a gradual process, but the movie just breezes over it completely. It's meant to be based on her book, but it avoids most of its major plot points. And the time jumps are a bit confusing, but man, Ted manipulating Liz and lying to her is really creepy. Efron kills this performance. Pun intended.
What?
And he is really charming. It shows how smooth of a liar he could actually be, and Efron nails it. He really should have won an award for this. But is this really allowed? Ted is only being convicted at this point, but nothing has been proven. Yet somebody recognizes him from the newspaper, alerts security, and he's kicked out of the local library. Well, that's a bit unfair. But this movie has the same problems that Elephant had. There's a scene where Liz discovers Ted underneath the bed sheets using a flashlight to read a book because he didn't want to wake her. Now, in real life, he used a flashlight under the sheets to look at her body. So, this scene doesn't really do anything for you unless you're familiar with Bundy's history. It's a big nothing. But he was such a convincing liar. Even in his later trials in real life, he always seemed genuine when he professed his innocence. And Efron gives such an accurate portrayal. So this is when we get to see Carol Durant testifying against Bundy. She was a victim who Ted attacked, but she managed to escape. But I'm a bit confused. I don't remember ever hearing about Carol breaking down in court. And Bundy even claims that the police coached her into identifying him. I mean, originally she did fail to identify Ted in a photo lineup, and there were rumors that before the court proceedings, the cops did show her a picture of Bundy so she would correctly identify him. But in the movie, it's just a lot more forced than what actually happened in real life. But then a dog cowers at the mere sight of Ted. Okay, that is creepy as shit. But what is he, Michael Myers?
Promise you'll never leave me, Liz. Because I honestly don't know what I'd do without you.
I would never.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
You're so weird.
You fell in love with a weirdo.
I did. I fell in love with a weirdo.
You have no idea. They playfully mess around, and it is actually quite cute. They have some nice subtle touches where he playfully puts his hands around her throat. These are really nice touches. Well, not literally. Bad touches! They are bad touches! Wait. Why are we intentionally breaking glasses now? What's the point of this? Man, Troy Bolton really let himself go. Wait, Haley Joel Osment is in this? Huh. I guess this time he didn't see dead people coming.
You ever been to Colorado, Ted?
Mister, I'm a full-time law student. I barely have time to set foot off campus.
Is that a no?
Let me get back to plotting my escape here.
Subtle. So, in real life, Liz recognised Ted from some of the witness sketches and went to her friends about her concerns. But they said it was ridiculous and it couldn't be him. But they suggested she calls the police anyway to ease her mind. But in this movie, it's the complete opposite. She's unsure and her friends are adamant that it's him. I mean, it's no big deal that they changed it, but my question is, why did they change it? Why was that necessary? And they also don't show what Liz is actually going through. He keeps ringing her up to try to talk, and he's casual and acts innocent. He really seems genuine and compassionate. And then he compares the situation to some book. But this didn't happen in real life. I mean, the book's a real thing and was turned into a movie, but it wasn't a thing with Ted and Liz, and it's just strange that they added it. And I think some people do have a point here. The way he gets arrested while citing innocence, the music and everything, a lawyer then gives up on Ted and dumps him, Liz won't talk to him. It does a very good job making you sympathetic towards a serial killer. I don't want to like Ted, but they're making me like him! Okay, they were trying to glorify Ted Bundy, and this is why I don't think the movie works. Sure, it's a cool idea to show Ted from Liz's point of view, even though they don't. But the audience not seeing Bundy being guilty until the rest of the world did? It's a cool idea, but not only do they neglect this whenever they feel like it, but I just think it would have been a much more interesting study of his psyche if you showed him killing people and then acting normal around others. The Iceman is a great example of a film utilizing this. Otherwise, you're just making Bundy look amazing and then, oh yeah, he killed people, maybe don't like him.
I'm gonna fix this.
So Ted starts practicing jumps from his cell bunk bed to exercise for his escape plan, which really happened. See, sometimes they want to be accurate. To be fair, the recreations are amazing. And it's eerie how much Zac looks like Ted at this point. It's spooky how he's got all of the mannerisms and facial expressions down to a T. They even copy real photographs, clothing, speeches, courtroom clips. This is incredible. Seriously, just watch how accurate they are.
You've also been convicted in Utah of attempted kidnapping, yet you adamantly maintain your innocence. Does this make you angry?
Sure. I get angry and indignant.
Sure, I get angry. I get very, very angry and indignant.
So you're not guilty?
I mean, does that include the time that I stole a comic book when I was 5 years old?
I'm not guilty. Does that include the time I stole a comic book when I was 5 years old?
I am comfortable with my blanket statement that I am innocent.
But I'm satisfied with my blanket statement that I'm innocent.
As long as the police keep their heads in the sand about me, that people are going to continue showing up dead or missing from the canyons in Colorado to the Salt Lake Valley.
And I'll tell you, as long as they attempt to keep their heads in the sand about me, there's going to be people turning up in canyons, and there are going to be people being shot in Salt Lake City because the police there aren't willing to accept what I think they know, and they know that I didn't do these things.
And young women are going to continue to be threatened by that person or persons.
And not only her, but every other young woman in the Salt Lake Valley is going to be threatened by that person or persons.
Do you ever think about getting out?
Legally, sure.
You think about getting out of here?
Well, legally, sure.
Although they miss vital dialogue from this interview.
I am not guilty of the charges which have been filed against me.
And the allegations?
And the allegations.
And the rumors and the...
I don't know all of what you're speaking about, Lucky. No man is truly innocent. I mean, we all have transgressed in some way in our lives. And as I say, I've been impolite, and there are things I regret having done in my life. But nothing like the things I think that you're referring to.
I mean, that's really important to understand just what kind of person Ted Bundy was, so it's just very odd that they've cut that out. So Ted, acting as his own attorney, isn't handcuffed or shackled because they're morons, and is let into the library to take a phone call, which didn't happen in real life. He actually went in there to study his case, but shh. And as the watching cop flirts with the woman, he makes his escape out of the window. Also not how it happened. Why bother adapting something when you're going to go against it almost entirely?
I was really hoping you'd say that.
I may be nitpicking about the changes, but I just don't understand the need to change unnecessary stuff like this. Oh well, he was a genius, man. He doesn't even run as the cops drive past because he knows that he would only draw more attention to himself. He's changed his clothing and that's enough.
The drama started when a man walking along Aspen's main street saw someone jump out of those windows in Aspen's courthouse.
It was a woman who saw him.
He went that way. The subject has been spotted on the northeast of the court.
You literally cast a woman and then said a man. What?
He walked downstairs in the courthouse and asked the sheriff's secretary if it was normal for somebody to be leaping out of those windows.
When would it ever be normal for someone to jump out a window?
I need a drink.
You already had one.
Since when is it a crime to take the edge off every once in a while?
Since your little girl started asking why her mommy is so sad. And it's not just once in a while.
Well, we've spent all our time on Ted, all of those scenes of Bundy escaping, changing his clothes. Guess what? Liz wasn't there. So it's not her point of view. If you want to show Liz's struggle, show Liz's struggle. You can't just claim you are and then have her occasionally say, yes, I'm rather sad, yes. Because then, oh, he's captured again 6 days later. Oh, so they don't show that, but they show his other arrests. Yeah, this one, they just breeze over it entirely, okay. But honestly, this scene is amazing. Liz gathers up the courage to finally dump his ass, but admits that she does still love him, and that's her problem. The acting is incredible on both sides, but especially from her. He seems so genuine as he begs for her to stay, but Liz has become the shell of who she was at the start of the film. But it ends with us, again, feeling sorry for him because of the way the movie is written and paced. This scene should be, look mate, look what you lost, you it, you dumbass. But instead it's, oh, everyone's leaving Ted. He's lost so much.
So, what's your resolution?
Bring back your career?
Oh, come on. Everybody's got something they want, something they want to get rid of.
What if you don't know which one it is?
Okay, that dialogue is fantastic. And this is when he starts to plan his next escape, which was just genius. And just like that, boom, now we find out he's in Florida. What the hell? Is it from Liz's point of view or not? We don't see anything after his escape until his arrest, and that was 2 months later. They're trying to have it both ways, and it just doesn't work. They skip out all the vital events that happened. So basically, Ted escaped, made it to Florida, and he probably would have gotten away with it if he just stopped killing. Greedy b****.
What kind of a person do you think is at large? Well, I'd rather say we've got a very disturbed, sick individual.
Okay, that was a really funny edit. Well done. But it's weird that he stole the exact same car as the one he used in Washington. But then he gets pulled over, gets into a fight with a cop, and then arrested again. Man, he got pulled over so many times you'd think he would have learned after a while. Also, once in Florida, Ted refused to give his real name. He gave a fake name and then they didn't know what to do with him. They couldn't release him on bail. It was this whole dragged out process. He was on the news as this unnamed man. None of that's in the movie. They just skip over all of that. There were another set of gruesome murders, and Ted left some bite marks on the victim's body. So they had to get a mold of his teeth to see if it matched the marks. But look at how dramatic it is in the movie. This isn't how it played out in real life at all. They surprised him and took him to a dentist's room, but Bundy actually calmly sat down and told them to go ahead because he had nothing to hide and he wasn't a violent man. But here, it doesn't even look like they take a mold. They just take a picture.
You are in denial.
So they reenact the moment where Bundy's indictment was read out, but what's with the editing? It has so many cuts and weird-ass angles. This is just weird.
Step out now, Ted.
What is it? What do we have here, Ken? What is that?
Oh, it's an indictment.
What do we have here, Ken? Let's see. You always say an indictment.
Why don't you read that to me?
Why don't you read it to me?
In the name of...
You're up for re-election, aren't you?
You're up for election, aren't you?
In the name of...
You said he was going to get me.
The authority of the state of...
He said he was going to get me.
Mr. Bundy, you told me that you were going to get me. You said he was going to get me.
You are charged with...
You got the indictment. That's all you're gonna get.
Okay, you've got the indictment. It's all you're gonna get.
You are charged with 2 counts of murder in the first degree and 3 counts of attempted murder.
You know what? I'll plead not guilty right now.
I'll plead not guilty right now.
My chance to talk to the press. This is it. My chance.
My chance to talk to the press.
I'd also like to clarify that in real life, Bundy had already confessed to Liz by now. Earlier when he rang her to tell her that he was in Florida, yeah, that was the confession. But shh, Liz won't answer his calls, so he goes back to Carol Ann Boone.
I can't believe what they've managed to do. They're using me as a ploy for the sheriff to win points in the next election. I'm being used for political gain.
God, of course.
Think about it. He's been spinning his wheels on this sorority case, and the biggest fish in America lands right in a little pond. Who do you think he's gonna bet it on? I literally just autographed my own wanted poster. I'm more popular than Disney World.
The sad thing is, he's probably right. She even starts reading the book he keeps going on about and still has hopes that he's innocent. But he f***s it up every time he escapes! If he just stayed put, he would have gotten away with murder about 3 times by now! For a genius, he was also a bit of a dumbass. Oh, also, Liz has Haley Joel after her. He's called Jerry, but I'm assuming it's based on Hank in her book. And you changed his name because... I mean, the book already changed the name from the real dude. She's called Elizabeth Kendall, so this makes no sense. But she's struggling to trust him, which is understandable. But then Ted's lawyer decides to make a deal. If he pleads guilty, he'll avoid the death penalty. And hey, Sheldon Cooper's in this! Maybe he'll brighten up this picture.
Strangled with a pantyhose garrote so tight that her neck was constricted to half its size.
Maybe not. So Liz is obsessed with the case, wanting to know the truth, while women pine over Bundy regardless. And sadly, this all happened in real life. I mean, except for Liz wanting to know the truth. She already knew the truth by now, but shh, you can't win everything. Man, you can't help but feel sorry for Jerry, though. The poor guy's trying his best, but he's playing second fiddle to a serial killer. But Ted really does show his intelligence when he objects in court.
I also move to have the detective's entire testimony stricken from the record on the basis that the word surreptitious should automatically disqualify anything masquerading as evidence, being that it's synonymous with secret, stealthy, clandestine, sneaky, sly, furtive, concealed, and hidden.
Your Honor, is he allowed to keep talking?
No true evidence should, could, or would ever be described in such terms.
Your Honor.
Okay, that was actually kind of badass. And he even continues to plead innocence to his dear old mum.
And because of the nature of the offenses, several death sentences.
I'm not pleading, okay?
A mother cannot outlive her son.
Sadly, she did. And to her grave, she maintained that her son was innocent.
You don't actually believe this garbage, do you?
But Ted refuses the deal at the last minute in court and continues to plead innocence.
I will not accept my so-called attorney's advice that I plead guilty to save my own life. I am, in fact, not guilty.
But hey, look, a short montage shows us exactly what Liz is going through. No! No, it doesn't. We're 76 minutes in. Quit being lazy. Show, don't tell. And that's when Bundy bangs Carol to knock her up. Wow, that is some nice security guard. But he insists to Carol that he doesn't love Liz anymore, and the acting is incredible. But you really feel for Carol. She's just being used this whole time.
With a Mercedes. And a dog. I can hear him barking. Can you?
I'm allergic to dogs.
Okay, dump her.
If the chip did not occur until March 1978, 2 months after the Chi Omega crimes, and the state's odontologists say otherwise, then the state's odontologists have obviously taken my teeth and twisted them every which way but loose to fit.
Son, you can jump up and down, hang from the chandelier, but the court will not dash out for new evidence at your command.
Didn't Ted just make a very solid point that you should definitely look into? Instead, they're just like, nope, nope, don't listen to him, nope. And then Ted and Carol get married in court. Wonderful. They have about as much development as Liz, so it's all good.
They're gonna send him to the chair, Liz. And that seems like an easier out than this torture you're putting yourself through because you won't let him go. He's killing you because you're letting him.
You're just jealous because Ted and I have a bond you and I never could.
What? This didn't happen in real life! Why did you add this? It's not in the book, it didn't happen in real life, so they're deliberately trying to make Elizabeth a complete I don't understand. I mean, I know you say things when you're grieving and you're upset, but there's grieving and then there's just being a cow face. Well, at least he stays and hugs her. He's such a supportive guy.
Why do you act like you're responsible for the things that happened to him?
Because she's the one who gave his name, called up the police and snitched on him? Anyone who's familiar with this case already knows that. So why does the movie try to act like this is such a big reveal? To be fair, the acting is insane. It's definitely the film's strong point. Then we get a nicely cut together montage as they both plead their cases, and they're intercut with each other quite well. But then Carol reveals that she's pregnant! Except this didn't happen until after all of the court cases, but shh, it's typical sequel bait. But it's weird that throughout all the court proceedings, they don't even mention Kimberly Leach, who was Bundy's most famous victim as she was only 12 years old. Maybe worth a mention, guys! But then Liz quits drinking. Wait, what? That was all it took? He gets the death sentence and that's it? Off the alcohol. I mean, sure, he's found guilty in court, but that doesn't automatically make him guilty. Look at O.J. Simpson. I mean, surely she would only quit drinking after he confesses, because he still denies it.
I won't ask for mercy. In fact, I find it absurd to ask for mercy for something that I did not do. I'm not the one responsible for these horrific acts. Although the verdict found, in part, that these crimes had been committed, it erred in finding who committed them. As a consequence, I do not accept the sentence.
And that acting is superb.
I need to hear the truth from you now.
Come on, you know that I'm not capable of these crimes. I would never hurt a woman. Have I ever laid a hand on you?
Yes! You shoved her in a lake and tried to drown her! You backed up the chimney and tried to smoke her to death! None of this is in the movie!
Have I ever raised my voice?
Yes! You angrily threatened her! You said you were going to break her neck if she told people that you stole a TV! You constantly verbally abused her if she even considered cutting her hair! None of this is in the movie! In fact, at one point, she actually got pregnant with his child! And they mutually agreed to terminate the baby! That's not in the movie! But no, they'll put in Bundy telling her that he's going to confess just to save his own life, but still says that he's innocent.
Absolutely.
This never happened!
One of your victims was a child, Ted.
Kimberly Leach.
Oh, so they do mention Kimberly Leach! Right at the end, when he's already being convicted. This makes no sense. I will say, this is the best scene of the film. So, as explained, in real life, Ted confessed to Liz over the phone once he was arrested back in Florida. Here, they have the confrontation after he's been committed, and it's in person. Now, in the real life phone call, Ted was very careful and didn't specifically confess because he was smart enough to know that it could be held against him, and the phone could have been tapped. But here, it's much more over the top and blunt. He full-on confesses, and some of the dialogue is taken from the real phone call, but not all of it. But it is bone-chilling. He finally stops being seen as sympathetic, and we finally see the monster behind the mask that he's been wearing this entire time, and it's brilliant. And that's when we get a montage completely reframing everything that he's done the entire movie. Anytime Liz thought he was being sweet, we see his actual intent. And it is kind of clever. The audience is put into Liz's mindset for how to view Ted throughout the film, right up until the very ending. So it makes sense that we should sympathise with him throughout the entire film. Honestly, this montage makes me appreciate some of the earlier scenes a bit more. It's a clever style to go with. You really feel for her after she trusted him so much and always tried to defend him. My only issue is, I just don't think they showed it enough. It's okay. I mean, I just don't think it really dives into Bundy's psyche at all. If you're not educated on Ted Bundy, you won't learn a whole lot. And if you are educated on Ted Bundy, you'll just find holes in the story because they do their best to change so much from historical facts. It tries to be from Liz's point of view, except when it isn't. I just think it's a missed opportunity. But the filming and cinematography are fantastic. If you're a Bundy enthusiast who wishes to learn more, maybe it's worth watching just for Zac Efron's performance, but other than that, you won't really get a whole lot out of it. Now what can I review next? And I need a new guest star. Hey, you do!